Okay, everyone, this is my spoiler review of X-Men the Animated Series, Season 4, Episode 19, Beyond Good and Evil Part 2. This originally came out November 11th, 1995. Before I jump into my review, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and if you're on TikTok, come over to YouTube as well, and please hit that sub button. It helps in so many ways. It's going to be everything X-Men on this channel. So this episode has so many great appearances in it. There's a lot going on. It's very exciting. It goes by really quick. It has a really good pace to it, especially being in the middle of a 4-part series of episodes. It has the perfect kind of transition feel to it that still makes it exciting, and a lot of introductions that come in that I really didn't even expect. So that really works here for me, and giving you little reveals in this story while also setting up more mysteries about Apocalypse's full end game here. But it opens here with the Shi'ar Imperial Palace, and we see Deathbird for the first time is Lilandra's sister, who is invading to take the throne, and it's revealed her cruel plan was just to have Apocalypse kill her own sister. But the reveal that comes to the audience is that he's not there for her, he's really grabbing Oracle. So that's giving you a hint now of why he's grabbing a person like Oracle, why he's grabbed Jean and left Cyclops behind. And this is what Charles will figure out, and it gives you a chance as the audience to see if you can figure out before him, is that Apocalypse wants psychic mutants. I love when Deathbird's like, to Apocalypse, not her, the Empress. You promised to destroy Lilandra. And he just goes, I lied. I love lines like that. Just straightforward. And really, what's great about it is Lilandra gets the last laugh to her sister in this moment. She's like, you should choose your allies more carefully, my sister. But Lilandra will have a cool moment where she'll telepathically pass this information of what just happened to Charles. And what they establish, which is important here, is that what Apocalypse's plan is doing, being in the axis of time, and like he says, he's at the temporal control center of existence, it lets villains like Sinister do things that they wouldn't normally be able to do, because Sinister is not immortal, but he can now time travel. And if he's doing what Apocalypse wants, it gives him freedom to do what his endgame is and his vision. So they do a good job at establishing these other big villains will work for Apocalypse because they're getting something out of it. Like we'll see with Magneto later in the episode, and that he made a deal with Apocalypse that Apocalypse will resurrect his dead wife. Where a lesser story would have them all just joining forces to all just be evil for evil's sake together. So they do a really good job here giving good motivations. With this information, Charles connecting the dots that Apocalypse is capturing mutants with psychic abilities, he suggests they use that to their advantage to find Apocalypse and Sinister, and that's when Storm's like, well, you're suggesting to use innocent people as bait. And Cyclops is like, but warning them could reveal our plan. And Gambit has a great line where he says, hey, if they be psychic, they already know, right? So Charles really agrees with Cyclops here, and it's worth the risk to save more people because of how dangerous it just is, Sinister and Apocalypse working together with unlimited time travel here. Now, where some of the silly writing comes in is when someone like Shard says, I don't know how, but I believe my brother's life is at stake in all of this. So anytime you see writing like that, you kind of cringe a little bit. The I don't know how part of it. Now, what caught me by surprise and made me very giddy was seeing Psylocke for the first time in a full appearance. We saw her in a little cameo in a previous episode. This is the first time she actually is really in the show. And we see she's trying to steal from Archangel, and she looks awesome. I love they let her do all these flips and really just go all in on her ninja side of it. And he saves her from falling, and then she just stabs him right in the back. Literally. Now, what's really crazy about this is Shard and Wolverine are on the lookout for Psylocke, and that's going to be the bait for them to find who tries to kidnap her. But Wolverine refers to Psylocke as this black-haired mutant psychic, and then right after, Angel says raven-haired while he's looking at her, and she clearly has light purple hair. It's such a strange mess up. Very weird. And one of my favorite moments in the show to date is just Wolverine from really high on this bridge doing an Olympic dive into the water with Shard saying, not bad for a hairy old man. Just moments like that make this show special. And what doesn't make sense is when Shard sees Archangel and is like, I know him. He's destined to join the X-Men. But we know in this show from the flashbacks they've showed, and obviously from the comics, but Angel was already an X-Man, so it really doesn't make any sense. Now, when Archangel confronts Psylocke and finds that he stole the car and all this other stuff, she just totally destroys him completely in words with saying things like, what do you care about your fellow mutants? You use your wealth to deny your mutant heritage. You had a scientist try to cure you, and you waste your life hunting a creature who can never die, talking about Apocalypse. So really just gets him good here. And Archangel has a funny line where he's like, noble sentiments coming from a thief, or is this all for charity bazaar? And she says it's for her brother, who's fighting for the good of all mutants, who we saw just in a little cameo, Captain Britain. So now we get the big fighting happening, which, especially as a kid growing up, this had to be so, like, wild to see all these characters together and really exciting. And you see Sabretooth shows up with Mystique, so they were their kidnappers, and then Wolverine and Shard will jump in, and Wolverine has the most obscure line he said to date, where he goes, looks like the Kidnappers Union will let anything in. I'm collecting dues. And then Mystique will try to just shapeshift into Shard and fool everybody while Shard's standing right there, and it just fails miserably, especially when you have a Wolverine who can sniff her. But that's where another big appearance I didn't expect happens, when Magneto shows up. And I love when Magneto shows up, Wolverine has Mystique, and then he sees Magneto and he just chucks her to the side. And Psylocke has the line of the episode where she says, what is this, a science fiction convention? And it's great they use it for this moment in the show, because anytime you see Magneto, you think almost of Comic-Cons, because he's such a popular character people dress up as. Now, Magneto will attach Wolverine to a freaking cruise ship and pick up the ship and then just drop it. Just a wild Magneto moment. And through all that, he's able to kidnap Psylocke still. And Storm and Gambit just blew it. They show up too late. And then they also lost their guard on the psychic they were watching for Sinister to still take. So not a great look for them in this episode. But like I mentioned before, Magneto's doing this so Apocalypse will resurrect his wife. And we see he's racking up the psychics now, Apocalypse, but he still needs his big prize in Charles, which he almost got with Sinister grabbing him and Rogue just strangely being able to just take him off of Sinister last episode, which was really funny. It was like too easy. But the big cliffhanger comes where we go to the future again. We're with Cable again in 3999, and we learn the government there still has a time machine they have to get to, because remember, Apocalypse took his computer, and their plan now is to go as far back as to destroy Apocalypse's chamber at the point of origin, which is really cool, really exciting. And what's great about this 4-part saga is it really does feel like a comic with so many interesting things happening. Every line has a good purpose to it, and there's a lot of like surprise appearances that like really catch off guard, but in a good way. I was so happy Psylocke got a moment in the show to shine. I hope they give her a lot of screen time in X-Men 97, because she's really one of those popular characters that just doesn't get enough due still somehow. So I really thought she was great and looked great in animation. Her outfit looks sick, and her powers really work with it too. It just fits the vibe of the show and will fit totally the vibe of X-Men 97. But overall, this is a really good transitional episode for me. I'm going to give this one an 8.7. Let me know what you thought of it down below. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Hit that sub button and follow along on other social media. And I'm also on Spotify now as well. And I'll see you next time.